Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fans of all ages, this is Todd Lights, public address announcer for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And now, leading off Facebook Live Friday nights at 8 p.m., number 19, Chris Pomey, the host of 30 Minutes Live with CDP. Hey fans, it's a weekly sports talk show talking about the MLB, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, and of course the Philadelphia Eagles. Tune in. You won't regret it.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Live with CDP on this Tuesday, October 26th at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 on the West Coast. I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I have 98 hats at home, and my guest is from LA, so I had to wear an LA hat, and that's why I'm wearing it tonight. So anyways, the World Series starts tonight, Houston, Atlanta. I'm looking forward to my podcast tonight at 8 o'clock with Chris Spinelli. He's an actor, stand-up comedian in the LA, California area, and I'm going to bring him on in one moment. I just really appreciate Chris coming on tonight. And we're going to talk about his acting career, stand-up comedy career, and some sports, and maybe about what happened with the LA Dodgers in the playoffs against the Atlanta Braves. So one moment, guys, and I'm going to bring on my guest, Chris Spinelli. Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Good. Hey, this is the first Chris I've had as a guest, so this is great.
Chris on Chris.
Yes. Podcast. Chris on Chris podcast.
It's a new thing. Just like we were talking about before you brought me on air, was that, these podcasts are especially with the pandemic, we do this stuff all the time now.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And like I said, I wish they had this technology 25, 30 years ago, because I would have gone into broadcasting instead of law and security. That's what I took. And now I'm trying to get into a different career. I want to try to get into radio, I hope. I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, you have a good start. I mean, you have a really good podcast here. I like it. You have a good variety of guests. You talk about everything, acting, movies, and of course, sports. So pretty good platform for you.
Well, thank you. And I'm trying to spread out too. Like 80% of my podcast is sports, but I'm also trying to get people that are actors, actresses, comedians come on, people from news as well. Just try to branch out a little bit too as well.
Good. Yeah, it's important. It makes a good variety too.
No, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. Are you okay time-wise with about 40, 45 minutes?
I'm fine. That's perfect.
Okay. I guess yes. You got a show tonight, don't you, later on? Denny's, Comedians at Denny's, right?
That's correct. Comedians at Denny's is like a podcast. We do it on our Facebook page. So it's on Facebook Live. It's usually every Wednesday night, but we're doing it Tuesday tonight because it's one of our comedian partners. I think you've actually interviewed her, Lauren Kirshner.
Yes,
she's in our group. Yeah, and Jay Hewlett and myself. It's the three of us. And Lauren has a show on Wednesday tomorrow night, a stand-up show in Redondo Beach. So we just moved the show to tonight, and we actually have a guest, the Unknown Comic. If you remember him from the 1970s, The Gong Show. Luckily, one of our friends, Ace Williams, hooked us up with him, and he'll be our guest tonight. So that's a few hours from now for us.
Yeah, 8:30 your time and 11:30 my time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, at that time, I'll be heading to my current job. So I work the graveyard shift. So
God, hey, I hear you. I know late nights. That's fine. You can always catch the episode tomorrow on our Facebook page.
Definitely.
And past ones too. Yeah,
definitely.
So yes.
I should also change my name of my podcast, Late Night with CDP. There's so many options I can do with this.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So
that's the other good thing about podcasts is that, people can go back and rewatch them. I've watched a lot of your episodes on YouTube, and that's a good thing about this technology too. People can go back if they miss it.
And also, I just learned how to do a pre-recorded one. So if my guest doesn't feel comfortable going live, they can pre-record a podcast with me, and then I can edit it, which I'm still learning to do. Or
cool.
like I say, Chris, if a guest doesn't feel comfortable coming on live with the camera, they can come on audio only.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can hide their face, and that's good. And I mean, those are all good options because it depends on the person. And but hey, I'm living on the edge. I'm going for it live.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I love it. I love live. And hey, sometimes mistakes happen, but you know what? You learn and live with them, and that's how you only get better. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
I never thought it would be I never thought I'd be doing this 20 years ago, but now it's like I'm so comfortable talking to people, and being live is not really a big deal. But then maybe if I was on a live stage with 50,000 people, it might be different.
Yeah, usually is different, and that's what's funny when you're on these podcasts. I mean, we're focused on each other. Hopefully people are watching or people will pick it up later, but they're not in front of us. You kind of get that good tunnel vision where we're like in a conversation together.
Definitely. And
Mm-hmm.
I did put my graphic on for Denny's comedians at Twitter for you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, we have a Twitter page. We're also on Instagram. Let's see, our Instagram is Comedians at Denny's, and then you can follow us Instagram, Twitter. We also have a website, comediansatdennys.com. And so you can find us there. And usually before the pandemic, we would be at a Denny's in the LA area. And we would always just did it like every other Wednesday night. And then sometimes we have a guest, sometimes we don't. But because of the pandemic, we ended up doing the show every Wednesday. And then that was good because just like what you're saying, Chris, you can get guests all over the country. So we know a lot of comedians in Florida because our other comedian friend Jay goes out there a lot to tour. And just all over. We've had people from New York on our show. So it's really, really good. It really expands it. And about 2 weeks ago, I think we were at a real Denny's again for the first time in a while. So, we'd like to change it up a little bit.
We should bring it here to Canada. We finally have a Denny's where I live in a city called Guelph, which is an hour from Toronto and a couple hours from Buffalo. And the food there is pretty good. And it would be great to have comedians at Denny's in Canada too. But I think it's only in California, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We're in the LA area, but we have said that maybe we should take it on the road sometime. So you never know. You never know.
Okay, definitely. Before I get to some questions, final thoughts on the LA Dodgers season.
Oh wow! Well, hey, and once again, thanks for wearing the Dodgers cap. I know you're a Detroit Tigers fan, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. It's too bad. I think they had a lot of injuries, and that caught up to them. Of course, I just think Atlanta is just the better team. I mean, they really upgraded, before the trade deadline, and I think. What was it? They were probably like 500 into August, and then they probably are one of the best teams. Besides the Cardinals probably getting hot, but they got eliminated by the Dodgers. But I just think that the Dodgers just got too banged up, and kind of the games 1 and 2 really hurt in Atlanta, where they just left so many runners on base. So I think it was kind of like a slow sinking ship. But hey, I guess they took it to game 6, so you can't complain about that. But really banged up. I think that's what happened to them.
I think they ran out of gas, and
that too.
Also the injuries and pitching. Atlanta's pitching the last couple of games was pretty solid, and the Braves since August have been really good. And it just shows you, Chris.
Yeah.
There's only been I think there's only been 7 or 8 major league teams that have repeated, and the last team that repeated was the 98, 99, 2000 Yankees, and then before them it was the Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays, right? Yeah,
92, 93.
92, right. I remember that. Yeah. So I mean, so it's so hard to repeat, and you get these teams like the Dodgers or the Astros, and even the Red Sox. They've been in the World Series several times the past 4 or 5 years, but yeah, it really is tough to repeat. Like even when the Giants were having their run last decade now, I guess. So, they were winning it like every couple of years. I don't think they didn't win back to back. Like you said, it hasn't been since the Yankees. So it's a long time. So it's tough to repeat. That's for sure.
Well, look at the NFL. Yeah. The last team to win back-to-back Super Bowls was the New England Patriots and Tom Brady.
Yeah, right. But now we'll see if Tampa Bay can do it this year. Another Brady team, right?
I think they're going to be great. I think Tampa Bay is one of the favorites, but I wouldn't count out the Arizona Cardinals.
No, they're the only undefeated team left, and the Saints had an impressive win last night on Monday Night Football. So to go up to Seattle to win there, I think Seattle has lost now like 3 home games this season, and that's a first time for them. And I think that they've said since 1992. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what they said last night.
Well, and the New England Patriots lost 4 straight home games to start the season at Gillette Stadium for the first time since 1993. So
wow, yeah, but I guess Belichick took it out on the Jets the other day. I saw those highlights.
The Jets
54 to something.
Yes, the Jets. the Jets are not a very good franchise, and
Unfortunately, not.
no,
Yeah.
they keep turning over general managers, coaching. There's no stability and there's no
Right.
direction. So
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and you get a franchise like that, it's the truth. And then you look at someone like the Detroit Lions, the same thing. They've had a lot of kind of a revolving door in that sense too. But yeah, I mean, I guess Joe Namath Jets, that's what we can we can lean on when we think of the New York Jets.
1969. As for the Lions, I know their record's bad 0-7, but I honestly don't think they're really an 0-7 team. I really think they should at least be 3-4, and they did play the LA Rams tough on Sunday.
They did, yeah. They're more competitive than the record shows, and so of course I get Rams games every week because of LA. So I watched that game, and yeah, Detroit, they took that early lead and they were right in it.
And I think
Yeah.
Jared Goff's not a bad quarterback, but Matt
No.
Stafford. But Stafford is an upgrade over Goff, and I think he's going to make a huge difference. But we'll see what he
Right.
can do in the playoffs because he's never won a playoff game yet.
I know. Can you believe that? It seems like Stafford's been in the league forever, and he hasn't won a playoff game. Maybe in LA, I think sometimes players or athletes get that boost. They get a change of scenery. They get maybe a little better team around them, and that could put them over. We'll see. We'll find out in a few months.
I was going to say that new stadium in LA. I keep forgetting the name of it. That looks sick, man. That looks like
Yeah,
I have
SoFi.
to.
Mhm.
I'm going to have to visit there.
I know. I can't wait to go see it. I can't wait to see it. It looks great, and they're gonna have the Super Bowl there this year too.
Yeah, Super Bowl 55. So who knows if the Rams will be in it. I think it's going to be tough because, like you said, you got the Buccaneers, you got the
Yeah.
Cardinals, you got the Rams, you got Dallas. I hate Dallas. They suck. But
Dallas, but they're good right now.
They're good right now. But I don't know if I trust Mike McCarthy in his
Right.
coaching in the playoffs. So we'll see. But I will. There's about 4 teams that could go to the Super Bowl from the NFC.
From that conference, I know, and it highly competitive. And of course, AFC is just a whole other story with the AFC North. I mean, the Bengals. I mean, I think they're the surprise team of the year. I mean, personally, and what they did to Baltimore last weekend, and then the Steelers. You can't count the Steelers out, of course. I mean, I know they're in last place, but I think they're 3-3, maybe
3-3,
right?
yeah,
3-3 right now. But still, it's anyone's game. And then, of course, the AFC West is really well. It's kind of spreading out now that Kansas City's struggling a little bit more. But you have the Chargers and the Raiders, are kind of the top of that division. So we'll see what happens.
But what a difference a year makes, because a year ago we hardly had no sports going on, and then we had sports start up in July or August 2020 with no fans, and it wasn't the same without the fans in the stands.
I agree with you 100%. In fact, it was tough for me to watch baseball and basketball because of that. I mean, I liked what the NBA did with the bubble and stuff. I mean, that made it a little better. I guess it's a smaller space. Baseball was really tough for me. Football was easier for me, I guess, because you're focused on the field and it's just so much more magnified. I guess it was a little easier, but no doubt the fans, that's what makes the games, that hear them cheering or jeering, and that I'm with you there. I'm glad the fans are able to go back to these stadiums.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I get into questions, Chris, I wanted to ask you this, since you've done acting work as before. What was the deal with what happened with Alex Baldwin? You've obviously made films and been in the industry.
Right.
What's the deal with the prop guns and all that in a movie set? I just wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And to start on that, I mean, what a horrible tragedy, Helena. I mean, I've never worked with her, but she was obviously very talented and very well respected in the industry. And tragedy enough, leaving a husband and a son behind. And then just to go into a little more, that obviously the investigation is still going on. So we'll see what the details are. I think with the internet and stuff, information just gets out there so fast, and sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's not accurate, and we'll just see what the investigation is. I know we get little tidbits like each day. It keeps evolving, but overall that's something that should not have happened. I mean, especially on a set like that. I mean, we're talking about a big budget movie, Alec Baldwin's production company. So we'll see what the details are. I keep hearing things, but the protocol on sets is that when you do have weapons, because in fact, a movie that we just made, the production company I work with, a couple weeks ago, we have prop guns, but there is the protocol where you do show everybody on set when you're getting on set that this is a prop gun. The chamber's empty. If it's that detail of a gun, some of the prop guns could be just plastic, but you just need to show people that, and the actor and the crew and everybody. You hold the gun in such a way where it's not threatening. I mean, you're handing the gun over, prop gun that is, in a safe manner and out of respect. And even when you film gun scenes, if you're pointing a gun at another actor, a prop gun, you don't point it directly at them. You point it just a little bit to the side. So it's kind of one of those unwritten rules that you just don't point a gun at someone. And then, of course, film captures it, so it looks like you're aiming it at the person you're supposed to be. So there's a lot of protocols that go, a lot of steps to make sure the set is safe. And I don't know now. This is a Western, so I'm sure those guns are pretty accurate for that time. It's a period piece, so those that must be pretty well prop guns, especially if you can have a live round in it. Now, the guns I've worked with, you can't have a live round in it because it's that very, very fake, or it's an air gun. Maybe you just have air that kind of pops out of it to kind of simulate that it's a gun shooting. So, but just overall, my take is that I think overall it's just going to change a lot of things in the industry. They're going to probably overhaul. I think a production company was already saying, I think there's a cop show on TV. I was reading it today. It's not Blue Bloods, but it might be. I think maybe it's called A Rookie, maybe. But that production company is already taking other measures to do things differently on their own sets because of what happened. But tragedy, no doubt about it.
I was gonna say an
Yeah.
Alex Baldwin. Hopefully this never ever happens again.
Exactly. And of course, it brings up The Crow, mid '90s when that happened, or a long time ago. But yeah, it's something that shouldn't have happened, avoided. But at the same time, we just had to see what the investigation is. I mean, what was going on? And I know there's a line of command. I know there's a lot of heat on the assistant director, and now it came out that he was fired from another job 2 or 3 years ago. So we just got to see how the investigation goes, and we'll get the details.
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted to ask you,
no.
since you've been in the
no.
industry and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm glad to talk about that. I mean, no, it's important. Yeah, because like I said, I was even handling prop guns, a week or so ago. So, I think I don't mind at all. It's important. Obviously, it's the talk of the industry and for everyone right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to get into some questions, Chris.
Yes.
First, wanted to ask you is, can you just tell my Canadian audience just a little bit about yourself, and when did you decide you wanted to pursue a career as an actor and stand-up comedian?
Wow, I was very young. I was 13 years old, I think, when I got bit by the bug. So I was in middle school at the time, and I joined a local theater group, and we did some plays in the summer. And then in high school, I stopped for a little bit, but my junior and senior year in high school is when I did more theater stuff. I did more sports freshman and sophomore year in high school. But I got bit by the bug, so I did theater. I went to Chapman University, and I was a media performance major. Chapman is a university in Orange County, California, near Disneyland, if you want to put a thumb on it. And so that was a lot of acting on camera classes and production classes. And then when I left there, I always pursued it. I always found a way to keep doing that. Fortunately, over the years, I think it's an industry of longevity. So I stuck in it long enough that I'd book stuff here and there, and now things have been taking off really well. I'm really clicked into the independent film world. So I've had, I just came out in a horror movie called Amityville Cop, which is now on Vimeo, and it'll be on Tubi hopefully by the end of this week or next week. I'm going to be in another movie called A Wise Guy Christmas. So it's a good comedy, mobster kind of fish out of water kind of movie. And then you can go to my IMDb page and you can see all the rest of my credits there. And then in terms of stand-up comedy, I've been doing it since probably the mid 90s now. And
Wow.
Same thing. I always loved comedy. I mean, when I was growing up, of course I grew up, watching Chevy Chase movies and you name all of that stuff. I love Peter Sellers. I love Steve Martin. And what's funny with my career is I'm more of an actor right now because I kind of stuck with that more. I do more stand-up comedy in the LA area, so I don't go on tour and stuff like that. I mentioned about my friend Jay Hewlett. He'll go on the road and he'll go to Florida and he'll go around. I always wanted to be around in LA and Hollywood for in case an acting gig came up, but stand-up comedy, no doubt, I love doing it. Obviously, I've done a couple podcast stand-up shows. I haven't gotten back on stage yet. Clubs have been open out here for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and audiences are starting to come back in. So I can't wait to get back on the stage. But for me, stand-up comedy is just such a fun outlet. And it just scratches that itch to get in front of people and perform.
And I was going to say the pandemic, there's so much negative, but without the pandemic, I wouldn't have gone on to on Flappers on Zoom, and I would have been able to see some of the shows and meet people like yourself. And like I said, this, so, you know, some good did come out of this pandemic.
I agree. And I remember you watching that. I think that was back in March. So yeah, that was one of the stand-up shows I did. So it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. But you're right. And here you are in Canada. You were able to see our show. And Flappers Comedy Club is in Burbank. So that's a place where I love to perform at. But now, you know, like we were saying this whole time, you know, with all the Zoom stuff and these podcasts, we were able to bring all of us together. So it's really exciting.
I was hoping Flappers would still keep some kind of virtual show. Like obviously they want to do the live shows, but I really think there is a place for the virtual shows too for people that are out of city, out of country, out of state, etc.
That's a great point. I mean, it'll be interesting seeing, to see if they end up doing something like that. But I mean, if they're kind of letting that go now, that's too bad. You're right. It's a good opportunity, especially to spread the club's names around. And, you know, like you said, you get all these people from out of state can see, or out of the country can see, you know, comedians anywhere.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think you're probably the seventh one I've had on. I've had Grace on. I've had Jay on. Jay's on. Lauren's on.
Good. Yeah.
Marty Ross I had on.
All right.
Marty Ross, yeah. So I've this podcast has been great. It's not just because I'm trying to get into radio. I've made a lot of connections and met nice people like yourself and Grace and Lauren and stuff like that. So this has really got me through the podcast or through the pandemic.
Yeah, good for you. That's great, Chris. Yeah, that's really good. And like I said, I like your podcast a lot because it's not just one thing. I mean, you bring a variety of people on, variety of guests, and it's really cool. I wish you the best of luck.
Well,
I hope you get into radio. You deserve to be on radio.
Well, thank you. And I'm also doing some camera work too for a TV company that's out of Toronto for hockey games. And I love being behind the camera and being part of a live broadcast. It makes you feel like you can, like, even if it's just hockey games or a sporting event, you don't realize how much work there is into setting up a production. And then you're a part of a team. And that's what I like about this.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, exactly. And hockey is so much fun live anyway.
Yes.
So it must be a thrill to watch. I mean, I think
definitely
those athletes are amazing. But that's really that's good. And that gets you involved, and then you keep getting your skills, you keep growing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I still have a lot to learn and improve on, but I love talking to people. I like asking questions, and I just try to be myself on here.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, you found your niche.
It took only 49 years, but at least they found it. At least they found it.
I know. Like I said, I was 13 when I figured out what I want to do. But either way, we end up in the same spot. So here we are.
Definitely. My next question I wanted to ask you, Chris, is where did you attend school, and did you have any mentor or mentors when you were first starting out in the industry?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. When I was in high school, Michelle Busty was our drama teacher. So definitely she had a big impact on me and a big influence. She's retired since then, but and encouraged me to keep doing it and to pursue it into college. And like I mentioned, that was at Cherry Creek High School in Denver, Colorado. So I grew up in Englewood, Colorado, with an E, not Englewood with an I that's out here, but Englewood with an E, which is a suburb outside of Denver. Grew up there, and then I came out here to California for Chapman University in Orange County and never left. My blood thinned out. I when I was growing up in Colorado, I was a downhill skier. I grew up in snow. Here, the temperature goes down to 60 degrees, and I'm freezing. So
Wow.
I've stayed out here. I've stayed go to the beach. You can still go to the mountains. There's still a little snow up there.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say, California obviously is one state I haven't been to. Colorado as well. Like I've been to 13
yeah.
states, but
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, Chris. I've never been on an airplane yet, so I'm
Oh,
gonna have to.
really?
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do it at some point. And Colorado is definitely one state I'd like to visit, and then LA because
Yes.
I want to see a Lakers game, Dodgers game, Rams game. I think I'd go broke living in LA.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, but there's a lot to see, a lot of sports teams, lot to do. You can have the ocean, you have the desert. Like as I mentioned, you still have mountains out here. A lot to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like with New York City. I love New York. I've been there a couple
Oh
times, and
yeah.
it's like, but I
Yeah.
think the climate it's a little bit nicer in LA than New York.
It is, and to go back further, I was born in New Jersey, so I have been to New York City, often in my life. And same thing, yeah, you'll get the cold and the thunderstorms in the summer, and
Yeah.
right.
I was gonna say, Chris, when you moved out to California, was it
Mhm.
an adjustment, and did it take a while to get used to the earthquakes? And
Oh yeah.
how often do you get earthquakes in the LA or California area?
Yeah, well, when I first moved out here, since I was going to schools, that I was more focused on that, so the adjustment was really easy. I was meeting a lot of people at the time, and I was just busy in my studies. But then, in terms of out here, I mean, it was a great adjustment. Like I said, I loved like in Colorado, it's a landlocked state, so out here, I would go to the beach as much as I could, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the area and everything. Earthquakes, they happen very often, but a lot of times you don't feel them. But usually you'll get a good shaker at least once a year, sometimes twice, sometimes not. It just depends. I think we had one. I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, maybe in June. There was one of those that it wakes you up in the middle of the night, and I think for me, the thing I can never get used to earthquakes is that it's just the rumble and the shaking. You just hear everything creaking. That's what that always gets me. And then you just kind of ride it out, and you're just like, okay, this isn't that bad because nothing's falling down, so I'll just ride it out, and it kind of goes away. But no, I don't think I'll ever get used to earthquakes. But as long as they're you can tolerate them, they're fine. But in fact, I grew up in Colorado. I mean, we used to have tornado warnings there, and tornadoes, as you know, or hurricanes can do a lot more destruction than most earthquakes, unless it's a major one. But here, with all the building codes and everything as well, that you feel safer than other places that might not. But
Okay.
that's my take on earthquakes. I hope I don't
Okay.
jinx anything. I hope there's nothing tonight, but
Cross your fingers. So.
yeah, I know, cross.
So I do ask a lot of questions and stuff like that.
Oh,
so.
no worries.
Okay.
Bring them on.
Okay. Next one I wanted to ask you, Chris, is what was your first acting job? Do you remember what your first acting job was and your first comedy job was?
Yeah, okay. My first acting job was reenactment work for a show called True Hollywood Stories. It was pretty popular in the late '90s, and it was the Betty Page story. And so I played like her second husband. I think his name was Armando or something, and you could maybe see my arm on the show. But that was my first professional acting job, and then stand up comedy. The first time I did stand up was at the Comedy Store in Hollywood, and on Sunset Boulevard. And in that time, I was just doing stand up wherever I could get up. There's the Laugh Factory. I performed a lot, at the Ice House in Pasadena, which is a famous club. A lot of Robin Williams would perform there. Steve Martin. I mean, a lot of back in the day that those guys would perform there. Of course, the Comedy Store is still around in the Laugh Factory. So that's where I started doing stand up, was in Hollywood.
Did you ever do any performances at Second City, or is that more of the East Coast, like Chicago and Toronto? Second City.
Yes, the Chicago for sure, and Toronto. There is a Second City out here as well. But I did Groundlings. Groundlings is the other improv company, and a lot of people from Saturday Night Live have come from that. Melissa McCarthy. She was never on SNL, but she's hosted it. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I did study there a little bit at Groundlings, but then I did that just to get my feet wet a little bit. But then I just continued doing stand up.
I was gonna say, were you a little bit nervous when you first took a stage?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. When the good thing is, one thing I'm proud of myself though. When I first started doing stand up comedy, what you'll do is you'll see a lot of comedians maybe go up there with a notebook, and they're either like going off on that stuff. But the good things I'm happy about myself is I didn't do that, but I was still, no doubt, very nervous. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. And the good thing at the Comedy Store, though, when I did it, it was more like an open mic. So there was actually more comedians in the audience that probably wasn't laughing at me anyway. But I took the plunge. I did it. I think the biggest lesson I learned as a comedian then is, at that time when I was a younger stand-up, I would try to get through my material as fast as I could, and I wanted to jam in a lot of stuff. But really what it is, it's a conversation with the audience. And so it took me years to kind of perfect it, but you're doing your material, you talk to the audience. It's not that you're pointing them out or you're not making fun of them, but you're talking to the audience, and then you don't have to overload your routine with all this stuff. You want to make sure people listen to you and know where you're going with a joke or a bit. And so once that happened, just like you were saying, that with these podcasts are used now to talking to people, and this live stuff is like, yeah, it's second nature to us now. Same thing with stand up. And then once I got over that, it was fine. And no doubt there's always growing pains. You have your bad nights, or you have this and that, but other than that, you keep developing your act. I was able to study with this couple, Barb and Steve North. They ran a like a show called Thursday Night Live, and so it was sort of like a theater group for comedians. So we would go and do a workshop, write material, and then they would rotate us. But maybe once or twice a month, you'd be in their show, and so that really sharpened me also, and I was able to develop a lot of stuff through them.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you before I get to the next question is, how did you end up getting on Jimmy Kimmel Live?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think I submitted. They had a casting director, and they were looking for stand-ins. So I think I submitted to them. Probably sent them my headshot and resume at the time. And so what a stand-in is that they're there when they're setting up the lights. You stand in so they can make sure that whoever the talent's going to be, whether it's other actors or maybe guests on Jimmy Kimmel, to make sure the lighting's okay. So then once they're ready to do the show, that stuff is all set up. And then the stand-in will leave, and the real actor or the real guest will be there. So that was really fun because they shoot that show right in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard. And I would go in there and just work a couple hours. And the good thing is they called me in sometimes once or twice a month, and then they would throw me in some of their sketches. So I did this really neat thing where Jimmy Kimmel was doing his opening monologue. And at the time, there was a lot of, tasers, electric tasers.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, a lot of people were getting tased. So this guy in a red shirt got tased. I don't know where it was, whether it was in Georgia or Texas or something, but it was in the news, and I kind of looked like the guy. So they called me in, and I was actually one of his Jimmy Kimmel's one of his setups for his jokes as the tase guy. So I was in an audience plant. He was doing his opening monologue, and then he did his joke, and then it went to me, and I had smoke coming off a red shirt, and I was the tase guy. So that was a thrill. And so I haven't worked with them in a long time, but it was a fun. I worked with them like off and on for a couple of years.
I was gonna say, do you have any video footage of that still? Is there anywhere on YouTube?
No, no, it's not. They took it down. This was before a lot of the social media outlets. Yes. YouTube was around, so it was on YouTube. I might have it on another device, but I don't know if I can transfer it because it's old. This is. Gosh, when was that? This is probably like 13, 14 years ago now. Wow. I mean, geez, believe it. If it was now, it'd be great. It could be all over the place. Yeah. Twitter, TikTok, anything, you name it, Facebook. Wasn't quite there yet, so no. So I can just describe it like I just did. But it really did happen. It was fun. Well, I'm blessed to have worked on that show.
What was it like dealing with Jimmy Kimmel? Did you have any conversation with him at all?
No, actually not. When when you're in a show like that, you deal with just a lot of the other people, the casting people, and a lot of the directors, and some of the writers probably. But no, but the thing that was really neat though is I got to see Jimmy work a lot, and he was nice. He would say hi to us and things like that. But that type of show, when you're doing late night talk shows, I mean, it was just fun to watch him because he would be working on his opening monologue, for example, and then he would not like a joke and he would tell the writers, hey, can you do this, and then the writers would bring him another script or whatever, and it's just such a fast-paced environment because they're also up on whatever the day's news is going on, so he can joke about it. So it was really neat to watch, really cool to watch.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say when I went to New York, I got to go to the NBC studios and see the Saturday Night Live where they
wow.
perform. I didn't
Oh,
get to
wow.
see a live. I didn't get to see a live show, but I got to see where they perform. And then
Wow, that's great.
And then I guess I got a little taste of what I'm doing now. They had a little NBC late night show desk, and they record it for 5 minutes, and they were looking for volunteers to be the host, and nobody on my group wanted to do it. So I said, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And I actually loved it. They gave
Oh,
me
yeah.
they had the prop where what I had to say and all that, and I was a little bit nervous,
Oh.
but you know what? That's how I got a little bit of taste of doing live
Yeah.
podcast was doing
Right.
that. I'll have to send you that the video clip I did
Yeah.
from NBC.
Yeah, dude, that's so cool. And I can tell you that must have been amazing to be there. I mean, so many people have come out of SNL. I mean, it's been on forever now. And even I don't watch it as much, but those cast members are just talented because number one, they got on SNL, but also I've heard that show is it's a grind to do. I mean, that whole week of rehearsal, and that they have a writing staff that's writing the sketches, and I think that would be amazing to work on. But hats off to them, and what an amazing I don't know, I almost want to call it a fraternity or something. It's that embedded in our lives that so much talent has come out of SNL.
And the creator of it, Lauren Michaels, is Canadian too.
Yes, he is. He sure is. Yep.
So, and we've had some famous comedians from here over the years, and my favorite one to this day is still the late John Candy. He's still one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's too bad he was gone too early.
Too soon.
But he by far was very talented. And then of course he was starting to become a really good actor too. He did some really good serious stuff as well as most comedians, like Robin Williams.
Yep.
I mean the stuff that he did in his career is just amazing.
Yes.
He was such a goofball, but then he's winning an Academy Award for Good Will Hunting. I mean, it's just unbelievable the range some of these these comedians have.
And then I don't know if you've ever watched this, or you can watch it on YouTube. SCTV, which was the Canadian version of Saturday Night Live before Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And Eugene Martin was in it, and Dave Thomas, and John Candy, Joe Flaherty. And if you ever get a chance to watch SCTV on YouTube, it's great.
I did when I was a kid. I would see it. They would have it on, right? Exactly. So I'm right there with you, and all those guys, and the McKenzie brothers and stuff. Hey. but no, they were very, very funny, and that's why I was familiar with them when John Candy and Eugene, all those guys were in a lot of movies. Yeah, I already knew who they were.
So okay, the next question I wanted to ask you is, what do you enjoy the most about the acting comedy industries, and what is the hardest aspect of the industry, if there is any?
Okay. Well, the thing that I love about the acting is just it's just great to play another character. I just love getting a script and breaking it down, and in a way, it's playtime. It's like what we did when we were kids. It's just using your imagination. I'm always big. In fact, I was telling another actor a little bit ago that my preparation is I always love creating a backstory for a character I'm playing. So I do all that, and I love all that aspect, and it's just playtime. I mean, you go get on a set, and maybe it's an apartment set, but you have all the props, all the details, and it's just let's just go for it. But there's a lot of discipline, a lot of work. I think that the toughest aspect, couple things in the industry is not that it's tough, but it's the preparation. You do have to put the work in it, whether it's comedy or a serious role. You have to put the preparation in it. So then when you get to set, you're ready, because maybe some lines are changed, or you always have to be on your toes. Maybe you get to the set and maybe you had a rough morning getting to set. Maybe there's a lot of traffic, but you just kind of leave that outside that studio or the theater or wherever, and you got to focus. So you need to just get that focus on really quickly. I think just one of the hardest things as a younger actor, or people starting out in the industry, is that sometimes it takes a while. Now, everyone has their own story. I mean, every actor does, or every comedian. Some people do get success really quickly. It depends. It's timing. You book the right parts, but then at the same time, the hardest thing when you're starting out is like not being. Let me think of the right word I want to say. Getting frustrated. Oh my gosh, this is not happening. No one's calling me, or I've had 10 auditions and nothing's happened. You need to get beyond that. And I was in those areas sometimes, and you just got to learn that, hey, you do enough, something's going to land, something's going to hit, so just keep in it. That's the best advice I can give.
Okay. I apologize for that. My Wi-Fi connection just went down for like 30 seconds.
Oh,
it just sometimes it happens. I do have one of those Wi-Fi pods to increase my signal, but even with technology, Chris, sometimes things do happen. So I apologize for that.
No
30 seconds.
No
Okay.
worries. No worries.
One thing I've also learned too, and that's just from your industry, from talking to people, it's even with podcasts too, is don't take rejection personally. Just keep plugging away, keep grinding away, keep working at it, because rejection will happen to any of us at any time in life, whatever we decide to do as a career.
Exactly. And that you just hit a good topic. I mean, yeah, especially for actors or comedians. Yeah, the rejection is part of the game. And it's not, I mean, it's just, casting is an interesting thing. I mean, you could go in there and they might be just matching actors up that look similar because they're siblings or something, or you just don't know. When I did a bit part on that comedy show, All That, a long time ago, years ago, and I remember going to that audition, and they were looking at females. They were looking at actors that were older than me, younger than me, blonde actors, guys that looked like me. And for some reason, I happened to book that. For some reason, I just maybe had a really good read, but also my look is maybe what they were looking for too. So there's a lot of aspects. So basically, you just live and learn. You build from it. The good thing is, if you're auditioning for a comedy club or an acting job, you're getting in front of the people, and if you don't get it that time, maybe they'll remember you the next week. I've read for the same people many times too. So you just don't know. You don't know. You just do what you need to do and keep your focus, and don't take it personal, like you said.
And also build contacts too.
Yes, very important. Very important. So, the movies I've been working on, Amityville Cop, and then The Wise Guy Christmas. I've been working with a filmmaker friend of mine, Gregory Hatanaka, and I've known him for a very, very long time, and never really worked with him. Always kept in touch with him, and I would go to some of his movie premieres and stuff. And finally, he took a break from directing, but a couple years ago, he got back into it. We had lunch, and in these past 2 years, I've made a lot of movies with him. So it's getting those contacts. It's who you know, and so forth, and it's a combination of all that stuff.
Yeah, like you said, I've met a lot of great people like yourself, and everybody on here has been really great with me. And I've even had guys from the ESPN come on, and TSN,
awesome.
and all these guys, and I'm like, wow, they're giving this guy who's 49 years old 30 minutes or 40 minutes of their time, and they've been great with me and very supportive.
Good. That's important. Support's the most important thing, no matter what industry. We're all in this together, and that's good. You do your thing, I do my thing. Those guys from ESPN, they do their thing, and I mean that's wonderful. That's wonderful. We all come together, and we support each other.
Okay. The next question I wanted to ask you, Chris, is when filming a movie on set, what is a day? I shouldn't say daily, but what's a daily day or normal day like? A typical day like on set?
Yeah, I mean, it usually, I mean, you're there at least for 12 hours. Sometimes it'll go into overtime. Most of the time, though, it's it's either hurry up and wait or very fast pace. So as an actor, you can get on a set and you usually get there early, and either they'll put you through hair and makeup, and you might end up sitting there if they're not up to your scene yet. But then once they're ready to go, you're there, and it's a lot of work. Like I said, the preparation is one thing. When you're on a set, it can be draining sometimes because you're working, maybe you're doing take after take, depending, maybe it's a scene where you're running down a hallway or something, it's a chase scene or something, and all good stuff. And since I'm also into producing now, so with Gregory Hatanaka, I'm acting in these movies and also help producing them. So I do a lot of the production stuff. So I help check in some of the other actors, or I make sure they have their contract to sign and things like that. So it's been a really blessing for the work I've gotten, but also challenging in a good way too, because I'll be doing production stuff and then maybe I'm in a scene or something. So then I'll go to wardrobe, get ready, and then I got to be ready to do my acting scene. So it's been a really cool process, challenging, but yet very fun. And then of course it does get tiring after a while, because if you're doing something for on set for 3 or 4 days in a row or something, you want a little break.
And I was gonna say
Yeah.
a lot of the films that you shot,
Yes.
Chris, have they been in the LA area, or have you had to go out of state and out of country?
In the LA area, we've been shooting them in local studios in LA, in Burbank. No, I haven't had to go out of state for any acting stuff. Every acting job I've had has always been in LA, but no doubt about it, I'm always ready to hop on a plane or something if I have to.
Because I know a lot of movies and TV shows get filmed in Canada because
They
our
do.
governments give the TV producers or the production companies tax breaks to shoot them in
Yes.
Vancouver. Vancouver's popular, and same with Toronto, and I
Yeah.
think Montreal or Quebec, in the Quebec area too.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're exactly right. And I think X-Files, that was probably one of the first big shows, right? Probably up
Yes.
in Vancouver.
Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah, and it just opened that up. But you're right. That's exactly why. Better tax incentives, and especially in other states in the U.S. like Georgia, I know, like West Virginia, states like that. Some productions in California do go to these other states because of those incentives. Or you have something like Atlanta now that's a real hotbed for the industry. They're making their own studios now, and
Oh.
I know some actors that go out and audition there. Or if you live in Atlanta or Georgia as an actor, you can just act out there. You don't even have to come to Hollywood anymore. And that's
Okay,
starting to become more popular. In like Louisiana, I think there's a lot of New Orleans. There's a lot of production there now.
okay. I didn't know that about
Yeah,
Atlanta. Wow.
yeah,
Good to know.
yeah,
Good to know.
yeah, yeah, yep,
Okay. You still okay for time? A little bit longer?
yeah, yeah. I'm good. I'm good.
Just like a few more questions.
Okay,
Let's
go ahead.
favorite movie you've been in so far, and your favorite stand-up comedian show you performed at, or a club that you like to perform at in LA.
Oh, okay, great. I'm sorry. So you said my favorite comedian, or
Or
was that
your favorite movie you've been in so far,
right?
and one of your favorite comedy shows that you've performed at in the LA area.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So let's see. Uh, I have to say, in terms of the movie wise, well, I'll just go back to the past couple of years. So I did this movie called A Christmas Love a year ago, and that's streaming on Tubi, and I was the lead in that. So of course I have to say that was my favorite time, because I was almost in every scene. That was the first time in at least a full length movie. And then this year I did a movie called American Mobster, where I played a lawyer, and Nino Cimino, he wrote the screenplay, and Gregory directed it. Gregory Hatanaka did. And we did that earlier this year, and that's also on Tubi. But I play a lawyer in that movie, and I really like that character a lot, because he was a lawyer for the mob boss, but he wasn't a mobster. He wasn't, but he had this. That character had this composure, kind of this. He had to be like sharp as a tack kind of thing. So I really liked playing that character for some reason. That was the first time I was able to do something like that. In terms of comedy clubs, I remember I was performing at the Laugh Factory years and years ago, and I did something so funny that the audience actually were laughing and they stopped and they clapped. So that was probably my favorite moment at a stand-up club in terms of, and maybe I remember that sticks out more because I was younger at the time and I was just starting out. But that was a thrill for me. And the Laugh Factory, is one of the hot clubs in Hollywood. So that was a thrill for me.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, when you do a character on a movie,
Yes.
you really have to get in to do your homework and really get into it. Do you
Yeah.
find some actors and actresses that do characters on TV shows or
Mhm.
movie sequels for a long time actually start behaving like those characters, or do you find most actresses, as soon as it's cut, they just go back to their
Right.
normal self?
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's how it should be. You should go back to your normal self. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I've never played a character that long. Sometimes, like I said, when I do my backstory, like if I'm playing a cop and then I'm playing a cop again 3 months later, I might draw the same backstory from that other character just because it's already there and I can kind of get to it quickly. But I've never had a problem for myself where I can't shake a character off. I mean, to me, that's the playtime that you're using your imagination, you're doing that, and then I go off home or in the real world, and I'm back to Chris. um, in terms of other actors, I mean, I guess probably in the past, sometimes some roles might affect actors. I remember Brad Pitt saying when he was in an interview with a vampire, I think he mentioned that he got very depressed. And I think maybe just because shooting that movie, maybe they were on set a lot and it was probably a dark set and the mannerism and everything of just what was going on in the content of that movie. But I mean, I'm sure for sure that there's actors that their roles have affected them in a certain way, especially if it's heavy content. But I guess it just goes on the individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one I wanted to ask you. Next question. Who's your favorite actor, actress, and comedian?
Favorite comedian right away, Steve Martin. Steve Martin's my favorite comedian because you just go back and you just watch his stand up, but then also when he was a guest on the like the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, all out hilarious. Loved his movies, but Steve Martin. I mean that I have a lot of favorite comedians, but Steve Martin is my favorite comedian. And what was the other question? Favorite movie?
Favorite actor, favorite actor,
Oh,
actress.
favorite actor. Okay, actor and actress. Well, I coming from my generation, actress would be Jodie Foster, just because she's a fantastic actress. Of course, has won a couple Academy Awards, but I've always respected her career too because she chooses her roles very well. Some actors are like that, but that's what's always stuck out for me in that. In fact, when I think they did the second Silence of the Lambs movie, Hannibal, she refused to do it because she didn't like the script. So she was, to me that took guts. Where anyone like myself probably would say, "Oh, what the hell? I'll make it. I don't care." But I've always respected Jodie Foster. And actors, let's see. I mean, so many stick out. I mean, you could probably relate to this. Like, obviously, we have the Robert De Niro's and the Al Pacinos. Well, to go old school, Cary Grant was probably one of my favorite all-time actors, like old school. That kind of that I because I say that because one of my favorite movies was North by Northwest, the Hitchcock movie he was in, and then but Cary Grant was just a wonderful star. I mean, he was basically himself in most movies, if you go back and look at it. But to me, Cary Grant probably was one of my favorite actors from way back then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with technology now, the internet,
Yes.
YouTube, you can go back and watch all their work and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is amazing, which is great.
Now, my next question for you is more of your stand-up comedy side of yourself, Chris. Do you have any rituals before you go live on stage? And how long does it take you to engage the audience or gauge an audience?
Yeah, great question. So my ritual before is just I try to relax as much as I can, and I'm just really excited to be there. My kind of my comedic characters is happy to be there. So that gets me in that zone really quickly, especially now that I've been doing it for a long time. So my thing is just to go there and just, yeah, obviously I'm going through maybe my mind, my routine, to make sure I've got all the points down. And then I look at the audience too. I see how the audience is positioned, like who's in the front row, stuff like that, because I do interact with the audience, not all the time, but there's some parts of my act that I do that. And like I said, it helps, with that connection and stuff. I do a variety of stage time. So sometimes 3-minute routines are pretty common, or 10-minute routines. So to go back to, in terms of engaging with the audience, when it's that shorter routine, that the 3 minutes, you definitely want to engage them pretty quickly. So, I mean, I think what it is, once the MC introduces me, I usually do a joke that's like really directed at them, or at least I'm giving as many people as I can eye contact. So to get that connection right off, when you have a 10-minute routine, you want to connect with them, of course, as quickly as possible, but you have a little more time to kind of ease into it. So I think that's one of the top priorities. Like I said, that's when, like I said earlier in this podcast, that's the thing I had to learn the most as a stand-up comedian, was it's more of a conversation with the audience. Yes, you're doing your routine, you're doing your jokes, but you're talking to the audience in such a way, and that's where the engagement, where you're engaging with them too. So it's very important to get that connection
Okay,
as quickly as you can.
yeah.
So they're
Okay.
with you. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because every crowd or every audience is different, so
Yep.
yeah, I guess it's kind of good to pick up on them as quick as possible.
Exactly, and that's the other challenge too. But the only good thing about getting older is that, yeah, you don't take it personal. You don't take it. You let more things roll off your back. And sometimes audiences, yeah, sometimes they're not really into it, or maybe you're towards the end of the show where they're tired or something. You don't know, but that's nothing on you. And then that's when you try to engage them. Or sometimes you're going up there after someone that just killed, that was really hilarious. And you're like, okay, I've got to get the audience on my side now. So there's little challenges, but it's all good. It's all part of performing.
And how long does one of your performances usually last on stage, time-wise? Normally?
Right. Oh, can you see me still? I'm sorry. My battery might be running low on my phone. Usually 3 to 5 minutes, probably on average. At least that's a lot of the clubs that I do. And when some of them you can do 10 minutes. Yeah, I've done like a couple bars or restaurants, and usually they have more time. Most stand-up shows will probably have like a headliner and guest star people, so they usually get more time. So usually 3 to 5 minutes is probably on average for me. That I'm just speaking for myself there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. And
Yeah.
I just got two more questions for you.
Okay.
This one you'll like because it's sports oriented.
All right.
Yeah, I know you love sports like I do. Favorite sports teams, sports moments, so maybe favorite athletes, and just quick thoughts on the World Series, who you're predicting to win, and the NFL season with the Rams, and NBA season starting up. And I'm not sure if you're an NHL fan, hockey fan as well.
I am, because of course I love the Kings, the LA Kings, being out here and everything. But so okay. So what was the first part again? I get too excited about sports. Yeah. So silly me. So since I was brought up in Denver, of course I'm a Broncos fan, and John Elway, growing up was my favorite player, and my biggest thrill is when he finally won the Super Bowl. When they beat the Packers in Super Bowl 32. Because John Elway, I mean, he went to those Super Bowls earlier in his career. And of course, I think they lost 3 out of 4 Super Bowls, and that was heartbreaking. Of course, there was one. I think the 49ers beat them 55-10, so that didn't hurt as bad because that game was already done, I think, when they hit the field. But to see John Elway win the 2 Super Bowls at the end of his career was fantastic. I was so happy that he got that. So that was probably the highest sporting thrill of my life, when they beat the Packers, because they were underdogs in that game as well. In terms of this year with the NFL, I'm always, you got to knock the champs off. So I'm thinking Tampa Bay looks pretty intact. I know we talked about the Cardinals are undefeated. To me, it's always playoff time. We'll see what happens. That's why the games are played. Upsets happen. Sometimes someone might go on the road and win, but standout teams definitely Tampa Bay, the Cardinals. The Rams are in there too. Like we mentioned, the Cowboys. So it's funny because what are we 5 or 6 weeks into the NFL? So it's starting to spread out a little bit, but not really. There's still a lot of good teams that we still have a long way to go. So we'll see. Maybe we'll talk again in a couple months.
Definitely.
Yes, and then NBA. I'm a more of a Nuggets fan. Of course, I don't follow them as much being out here in California. So I watch NBA more just as a basketball fan. So, it looks like the Lakers have an all-star team assembled. So I don't know. We'll see what they do. But like I said, Milwaukee, right? Milwaukee, the Bucks are the team to beat. And I think Phoenix is going to be great again. So we'll just see how it happens. And I know injuries, of course, is a big factor in all sports, as we mentioned with the Dodgers. World Series, I don't know. You see, I am going to root for the Braves.
Wow. Okay.
Because the Astros, I still have a bad taste in my mouth from the cheating scandal. I know there's maybe only a couple players left from that team. My take on that, nothing against Astro fans or the Astros in the sense of they cheated. So even as a Dodger fan, I think that World Series, the MLB should have taken that trophy away and just maybe had no one be champions. I think that would have sent a better message that you can't cheat and win. And I think that scandal what the Astros did is almost right up there with the Black Sox or Pete Rose or whoever else. I was telling someone, steroids is a whole other issue with me, but when it comes to like individual teams or players, I think that was right up there. But so I just think the Braves are. I'm so that's why I'm rooting for the Braves. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I can't predict the series though, because no doubt about it, the Astros are there again. So obviously they're what they did to Boston. I thought Boston was really hot when the ALCS started. Boston looked really good those first couple of games or whatever, but the Astros ended up winning. So the Astros definitely love them or hate them. They're there for a reason.
Definitely.
So, what do you think? What do you think? Who do you think, or what's your take on the Braves and the Astros?
I've got Astros over Braves in 7 games. I think it's going to go the full 7.
Okay,
and
we'll see.
I was gonna say the Giants, the Dodgers obviously eliminated the Giants.
Yes,
but really, the Giants really did a lot of damage to the Dodgers by winning that division. They forced the Dodgers to play a pressure game against the Cardinals.
Yes.
Then they had to play 5 games against the Giants.
Right.
3 of them in San Francisco, which isn't far from LA. Not a big deal.
Right.
Then the Dodgers had 106 wins, but they didn't have home field advantage against the Braves because Atlanta won their division with 88 games, and the Dodgers 106. So if the Dodgers had won their division, they would have avoided that wild card game and that stress. They would have the Giants series might not have gone 5, and then having home field against Atlanta might have made a difference. Things might have been a little different. So
those are all great points, and I agree with you on all of that. You're right. And what was so funny about that last month of the season, maybe even month and a half, I give credit to the Giants, and my brother Rich is a Giants fan, so shout out to you, Rich, if you're listening in. But the Dodgers just could not catch the Giants. Like the Dodgers would lose and the Giants would lose, the Dodgers could not just catch up like a game or two on the Giants that last month of the season. So hats off to the Giants. They played great down the stretch and they ended up winning the division, which was a huge thing, and that might have been part of the demise of the Dodgers. Yeah, that was rough. But isn't it incredible how sports are? Like you said, you can win 106 games and still be a wild card. That's how it is. That's how it's lined up. But hey, division winners are division winners. Obviously Atlanta came back. Would you say 88 games they won? Yeah, but technically, if they're a division winner, they're a division winner. So that you got to go by the rules, I guess.
Definitely. Okay,
but that's why we love sports. That's why you love sports.
Yes.
Good conversation.
And I was going to say, as for
Yes.
the Kings, a couple of your players spent their junior A careers here in Guelph with
Oh,
the
did
Guelph
they?
Storm. Drew Doughty and
Oh
Dustin
yeah.
Brown. So
Oh
I
yeah.
saw them.
Great.
I saw them
Oh
play as
wow.
teenagers
Oh
here before they
wow.
made the NHL.
Yeah, and they've had great careers. I mean, they got a couple of those championships, which
Yep.
was great. It was so great to have the Kings win those Stanley Cups. I mean, it was nice for the area. I mean, it brought a lot more awareness of hockey. You know, this is a town where you get a lot of transplants in LA. So when it comes to the NFL, you know, you have Viking fans, you have Packer fans, you have all these different fans. It's nice the Rams are back, especially since they were originally in LA and they were in LA for a long time. The Chargers are a little. You need to get more used to them. Of course, because they're in the AFC West against the Broncos. But I mean, obviously, I think the Chargers were the LA Chargers maybe in 1960 for that first year in the AFL. But then they're in San Diego, so there wasn't a huge Charger fan base in LA when they came back here. But you put a winning team on the field, and that helps. You know, so you're starting to see a lot more Charger fans in LA too, which is great. You know, sports are great, you know, and so LA is a very good sports town for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
remember the Raiders were in LA
Yes.
too in the
Yes.
80s. The
Yeah.
LA Raiders.
A lot of Raider fans still here, and especially now that they're in Vegas, they're a little closer to LA. So I think a lot of those Raider fans are making that trip. And that stadium looks gorgeous too. The Las Vegas Raiders
Nice.
looks really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, for what, $2 billion, it should look nice.
Yeah, I know. Because you have yeah, these $1 billion. I think that's what SoFi was too.
Yes.
So and then and then of course Vegas, and you know they have the Knights. They
Golden Knights,
the
yep,
NHL. I mean, it's becoming a sports town. It's great. You can go to Vegas and go catch a game, a professional game.
Hey, and another sport to check out, and I'm just learning this, is lacrosse. Lacrosse
yeah.
is there's a lacrosse team in Las Vegas called the Las Vegas Stars. And Wayne Gretzky's a part owner of it. If you ever get a chance to check out a lacrosse game, check it out, because the sport is growing and it's now going to be on ESPN. One of my friends is involved with that league.
Yeah. See, when I was growing up in Colorado, lacrosse was very popular, and a lot of my friends played it. And you know, and people just have a lacrosse stick or whatever, just to have, even if you weren't playing. But no, I'm very familiar with lacrosse. It's a great sport, so it's great if it's getting more popular now. Kind of like hockey without the skates.
Yes, actually, it is. Yeah, it's a little bit of
because you're running around, you get the net. Yeah.
It's a little bit of hockey and a little bit of basketball with the shot clock.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So,
and then you can have some contact in lacrosse too. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is helpful too. Yeah.
Definitely. So
it's allowed.
Okay,
okay Chris. Yeah.
And I'm going to wrap it up.
Great.
Yeah, just going to wrap it up. Favorite music, hobbies, and good restaurants to eat in California and LA.
Oh, geez. Well, sushi is very popular, so I've grown to like sushi a lot. So there's a lot of sushi places, so I eat there. Let's see, what else? What was your other question? Oh, my favorite music. I've always been a big U2 fan, but I do like alternative rock. So anything from The Cure to NXS. Of course, a lot of 80s stuff. 70s bands. I like Radiohead. So I like a good variety of music, but U2 is my favorite group.
Okay.
And hobbies. You said hobbies.
Yes.
Making movies. Just doing, but you know, and just I love watching movies. And then since I'm tied in the industry, I do love going to film festivals. So that's sort of a hobby to see other people's work and meet other people and network that way.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to wrap this up, Chris, so you can get ready for your 8:30 show tonight. And I'm going to
Thank you, Chris.
No problem, and I appreciate you giving me all this time. Last question I wanted to ask you, it's more of any advice for those looking to pursue a career in acting, comedy, entertainment industry, and where can my audience find you again on social media?
Great. Well, I mean, the best advice I can give you, hey, it's a wonderful ride. To me, when you're an artist like that, even speaking for musicians and artists, you know, painters and stuff, it's a life journey. So definitely be patient and just don't get frustrated if you're starting out. Like I said, it's longevity. So just if you have that passion, do it and always learn. Always keep learning. Always keep getting better at that. And then my social media handles, my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok it's all at Chris Spinelli 2, the number 2. So Chris Spinelli 2. And then you can find me on Facebook as well.
Okay. And
Yes.
and your latest movie, is it out yet or on release?
Let's see. Amityville Cop just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's on Vimeo right now. You could rent it there, and it should be on Tubi by the end of this week or the following week. And Tubi is free. They do have advertisements during the movie, but Amityville Cop, it's a good horror movie, and then A Wise Guy Christmas. I'm thinking it's going to be out within this month for Christmas.
Okay.
And then you can go to my IMDb page and see all my other credits. And a lot of those other movies are on Tubi as well if you want to see those.
Okay, well, Chris,
Yes.
I'm going to let you go so you can get ready for your 8:30 show. And I really appreciate you coming on Live with CDP podcast tonight. And we'll definitely keep in touch with you on social media. I don't know if you think Chris might have.
Thank you, Craig. Best of luck to you. I hope you cross into radio. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a great show tonight, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Yep, you too. Good night, Chris. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my podcast tonight with Chris Spinelli. Like I said, you guys can check him out on his on Facebook, on Twitter at Chris Spinelli 2, and on Instagram Chris Spinelli 2 as well, or his IADBM page as well. So I really appreciate Chris coming on tonight, and look forward to my next podcast show, guys. Yeah. Next Live with CDP podcast is going to be tomorrow, October 27th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 Central Time. Guest will be Charlie Marlowe, sports anchor from Fox 2 in St. Louis, and the host of his own radio show, The Charlie Marlowe Show, on the 590 The Fan in St. Louis. They have the same sports radio station in St. Louis as in Toronto. So, but I'm looking forward to speaking to Charlie as well. I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched this live on my YouTube channel, on Facebook Live, and on my Twitter page at Chris D. Palme. I really appreciate it as well. And before we go, guys, just one other thing. Live with CDP podcast, the audio version is downloaded onto Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and on my LinkedIn page as well. So I really appreciate everybody watching or listening to the podcast. And also, guys, you can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. And let's see some comments here. Let's see comments. Let's see. Trevor Spencer, thanks for watching. Keep up the good work, Chris. You're doing a good job. You have good guests. Thank you so much. Trevor Spencer, Dallas Cowboys rule the NFC East for now. Dallas sucks, but they are good. And then Nam, Spin from Jersey. Wow. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate great acting advice. Auditions can be tough sometimes. And then let's see. Dope marathon. Wow. Thank you so much for the comments. I really appreciate it. And like I said, guys, some plugins. Yeah. So yes, thanks, Trevor and Nam. I think if I pronounced your name right, thank you for your comments on here as well. So I really appreciate that. And before we go, guys, let's just see. We got the World Series going on right now. Game 1, Houston and Atlanta. Charlie Martin's the starter for the Braves against Framber Valadez at Minute Maid Park. First pitch tonight is 8:09. They're probably in the third or fourth inning right now. I've got the Astros over the Braves in 7 games. Houston over Atlanta in 7 games for the World Series. As for the Eagles, they dropped 2-5 on Sunday after their loss to the Raiders 33-22. Eagles' next game is Sunday, October 31st, 1 o'clock. Kickoff against the Detroit Lions at Ford Field. The Lions are 0-7, so we'll see what happens there. Before I go, guys, since we got the World Series on, I'm just going to do a little preview of it. 1 second, guys, and then we're going to call it a show.
Home playoff game at Minute Maid Park since Game 7 of the 2019 World Series.
How do they say? What a slide!
Lance McCullers Jr., he was outstanding in a career season.
He got him. Strike 3.
And he is fired up.
Astros lead 5-4. Jordan comes up big time. Good one. Good night. 2-run shot by Kyle Tucker.
First pitch all the way to Mealy. Ground ball out to third. Riley to Ozzie for 1. Ozzie to first. Double play. And the Braves are heading back to Atlanta with the series even one apiece.
To right field. Garcia going back, looking up, it is gone! A blast! Pitch hit, 3-run home run for Jock Peterson.
That's a base hit. Altuve scores. They'll send Bregman. He'll score.
A 3-run jack for Jose Altuve. That's the cherry on top.
The Houston Astros are headed to the American League Championship Series. It's a fly ball to center field. Lorenzo Cain going back at the wall. Freddie Freeman's left the yard and put the Braves on top in the bottom of the 8th. Freddie Freeman and the Atlanta Braves are heading to the National League Championship Series.
Boston and Houston, here we go again.
Brantley lines one into left center field, and he's now hit in 16 consecutive postseason games.
Damage done. Tie game.
And he's had a hand in all 3 Astros runs.
Carlos Correa. It's his time.
Riley line drive, that is down! A base hit! Here comes Albies, and the Atlanta Braves win Game 1! And first ball swinging, and it gets through! And here comes the winning run! Swanson scores, and the Braves win again in their final at-bat!
Bregman sends one out, and the Astros strike first in Game 4. Jose Altuve does it again.
21 postseason homers, third most all time.
Jason Castro comes through. 3 more runs are going to score for the Astros.
Top of the second, Eddie smacks one to deep left. This will send back Taylor with urgency. He's back at the wall. That's out of the ballpark. Eddie Rosario drops the hammer on that pitch.
In the air, right field, hit well, and this one is up and out.
A 4-hit night, and the Braves busted wide open here in the 9th inning. It's 9-2.
Alvarez, he's driven in all 3. Framber Valdez, 8 innings of 1-run ball. Jordan Alvarez carried this Houston team offensively.
Machete! He did it! Double play!
They just keep coming. That should do it. Houston Astros are headed to the World Series.
Rosario, deep to right, it is gone! A 3-run blast! Eddie Rosario keeps his dream postseason alive.
Pitch on the way. There's a shot to Dansby. He slides to it. He's got it. Throws over. There is a new champion of the National League, and it is the Atlanta Braves. They have won the 2021 National League pennant, and the Atlanta Braves are going to the World Series.
Anyways, guys, that clip is courtesy of Major League Baseball. So Game 1 is underway right now. I'm not sure which inning it is, but like I said, the pitching matchup is Morton against Verdez from Minute Maid Park in Houston. I'm again picking the Astros over the Braves in 7 games. So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this podcast up, but my next live CDP podcast is going to be tomorrow, October 27th at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central Time. Guest is Charlie Marlowe, sports anchor again from Fox Sports 2 in St. Louis, and the host of his own radio show, the Charlie Marlowe Show on the Fan 590 in St. Louis. And I'm looking forward to speaking to Charlie about the St. Louis Cardinals, St. Louis Blues, and what he thinks of the Cardinals' new manager they just hired the other day. So we're going to talk a little sports with Charlie. So I hope you guys can all tune in to Live with CDP podcast tomorrow at 12:30. Anyways, guys, I'm going to call this a show. I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you, everybody, for coming on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and later on my audio, Apple and Google Podcasts, etc. Thank you again to my guest, Chris Spinelli, for coming on tonight to talk about his career as an actor and stand-up comedian. And I hope you guys can check out Chris Spinelli on his social media pages as well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching Live with CDP. Have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Good night.